Welcome to this episode of Schrage's Garage. The Evo oil cooler lines are leaking and we're going to fix that by replacing the whole thing. So apparently it's a common issue for all the stock oil cooler lines to leak on the Evos. I could have just replaced the OEM lines, but I decided just to upgrade the oil cooler while we're at it, go with some stainless steel braided lines and the end fittings. This is actually an MA Performance kit. I think it's about $420. It comes with everything you need, including all the special fittings to go to the, I guess, M14 connections on the oil filter housing. Let's get the car in here and get the old oil cooler off and start mocking up the new one. Alright, the stock oil cooler's out. Now we just need to mock up how the new one mounts in. It comes with some mounting brackets. Now I just got to figure out how they go. That looks right there. And there maybe. And that looks right to me. Let's go ahead and do that. Alright. Alright, so I mocked this up in the car and it looks like we want this to point down and this one to point kind of that way. So let's go ahead and put those on. I'm going to lube up the O-ring. You can use like, this is just WD, or this is just 5W30. white lithium grease will work as well. When you go to tighten these down, you never want to just tighten them down. You want to have a helper wrench. So you want this on the oil cooler, and then you can tighten down with that. You never want to just tighten it down without having that helper wrench on it. Alright, now we're ready to make the lines. Since this is an oil line, you're going to want to just make sure there's no debris in here, since that stuff could make it into the engine. When they cut these, a little piece of stainless steel could go in there, and eventually that would make it to a bearing or something. So I just blow them out with compressed air. And that's good. So these are two different sizes. And while the fittings on one side are the same, the fittings on the oil cooler are different. I'm going to take a wild guess here and say the longer ones for the top, since it kind of has a longer way to go. And hopefully I'm right. If not, you'll see in like a couple minutes that I was wrong and screwed up. So let's go ahead and put this one on. So the way these work, you unscrew this fitting. You slide it on. Make sure it's good. Take the other fitting, put a little dab of 5W30 or any oil on the threads, it can't hurt. It does generate a lot of heat. I haven't done this in years, but I remember last time it generated a lot of heat. So after you do that, one other thing is you want to make sure it's pressed all the way up there. You want to just mark it, because as you're tightening it, you want to make sure that it's not pushing the line out. So this kind of just, you'll be able to watch. A little's okay, but you don't want it to, you want to know if it's a huge distance that it's traveled. So once that's on, you shove it in and start twisting. They also make, in addition to the sweet wrenches for AN fittings, they make a thing that goes into the vise, and you hold one in and it just clamps it in, and it's nice and neat, and you can screw it down. But the much cheaper way is two 22mm wrenches. Hold one on one side, take the other, just start going through. This is way easier. Yeah, there's no reason to get the, absolutely no reason to get the $80 bajillion things that go into your vise when you just put your 22 mil wrench in the vise. So my stock oil cooler was missing a bolt, which was lovely. Luckily I found another one. It's just extremely rusted, so I'm going to go ahead and clean that up with the thread chaser and use that guy. So after I got the lines done, I went ahead and mounted it back on the car. You're going to want to keep the bolts from the aluminum mounts to the oil cooler loose. If you don't keep them loose, the bolt holes to the chassis aren't going to line up. So you just want to keep those loose, screw in the bolt holes to the chassis, and then go ahead and tighten the mounts back up to the oil cooler. Optimally, you want to wait until you get the front bumper on to tighten them down. That way you can kind of shimmy it to get a good seal to the ducting from the front bumper. My ducting ripped off, so until I fix that, I just went ahead and tightened these up. So the only thing left is getting the lines on to the oil filter housing. And we're done. You're going to want to make sure that the angle from the top AN connection to the oil cooler is angled in a way so it doesn't run the line and make it rub up against the mounting bracket. And that's about it. I have a stock, or I have my turbo oil line that I'm going to zip tie through. The stock oil line for the turbos up on the head, but a lot of people just go aftermarket. You get a little bit better pressure from the oil filter housing, so I'm just going to zip tie that to the oil line. We got to start the car and maybe top off the oil, since we're going to lose a lot since we have to fill the new cooler. But that's about it.